In this tutorial, we are going to create a chart inside a Google Workspace add-on sidebar using card services and Google App Scripts that allows us to refresh the card and update it dynamically as new data is added. So let me show you for example. Okay, on my left-hand side here, we have our sample data that has built this chart that's in our sidebar. And let's just change some of the details or some of the data for that chart. Let's say from 153 to 300 sales in November, and we'll go ahead and hit refresh here. And you can see this chart has updated dynamically with the new data as it has come in. We could change this back to 153 and add in a new month. So December, we'll project 60 and we'll say 200 here. And we could refresh from the drop-down menu from the sidebar card. So let's do that. And you can see we've got an extra month added in there now. Perfect. Okay, let's go ahead and delete that. And then we will refresh. Everything is as it was. Awesome. So there are some prerequisites for you to be able to set this up. So our knowledge of setting up a Google Workspace add-on card service application. If you don't know how to do that, that's absolutely no problem. I have a course on creating and publishing Google Workspace add-ons with AppScript, and it's a masterclass that will help you build your very first Google Workspace add-on all the way through to understanding the full scope of what you need to do to build the perfect Google Workspace add-on before publishing it publicly to the Google Workspace marketplace. You can find a link in the description below. So right now, go ahead and create a Google Workspace add-on. You might have a testing environment that you've already set up. And if you go to the links in the description below this video, you'll see a link to the JSON manifest file that we've already added in. And this will take you down and you'll be able to see the link here. So grab that link and you can use the drop-down menu that pops down at the top here and click on the copy and then Control-C and Control-V back into your JSON manifest in your Google Workspace add-on. Once your JSON is set up and saved and you've connected to a GCP project and you have your scopes all connected up perfectly, we can get started. So the first thing we're going to do is create our homepage card, and we're going to change my function to onHomepage. And that's what's going to be called from the common JSON manifest file that you can see where it says run functions here. Okay, and the only thing we're going to do, because we try and keep that onHomepage fairly clean, is call another function for now. So return, and that's going to be createChartCard. And let's just take in the event parameter. I don't think we're going to use the event parameter for this tutorial, but it may be useful for you in future. So it might be a good idea to just carry this through for yourself. Okay, so next step is pretty clear. We need to create this createChartCard function. So let's create a new function here. Function createChartCard, this one here. So what's it going to do? Okay, so this is our initial card builder, and it's the main function that generates the initial card when it loads. It's going to take in the event object, so we need to type in E here as a parameter, and it's going to return the card service card build object. So generally with this type of builds, we start from the bottom and work our way back up the top. So we will return builder.build. And then we're going to create a constant variable called builder. And that's going to be equal to card service dot new card builder. And what we're going to do here, we're going to set the name. And what will we call this? We'll call this charts. And this just essentially sets the name of the card that we're using, and it can be drawn in future reference down the track. Then we've got set, then we're going to set the headers. So set header. And this set header takes in a new card header object, or it takes in a new card header constructor. So again, we'll call card service and we'll say new card header. And we can chain this. So what do we need to do? We just want to set a title and maybe an image. So set title, and we'll call it charts with an exclamation mark because we're excited about charts. And then we are going to set an image URL. So set image URL. Okay, so what's our URL going to be? Well, you'll find that again in the link in the description below to the written version of this course, which you can just grab a copy of that URL and plug it in, or you can put in your own PNG file or JPEG file. But we're going to put ours in here for now. Okay, so we might add more sections down the track. So good housekeeping wise, we might just call builder again outside this initial build and just add section here. And what section we're going to be, so remember the sections are the components of the chart. So this area could be a section, then we could have another section of widgets below, another section of widgets below that. And we just want one section for the time being, and we'll call another function to handle this, and we'll call it buildChartSection. I just said BUI LD, and I think I've got everything okay there. It's all safe. All right, so what do we need to do? We need to build that section, don't we? Give ourselves a bit of space. Bring it back up here. We'll say function. Build chart section. Cool. And what is this build chart section going to do? It's basically going to display the chart, or in my case, display the chart. All right, let's fix that up. Okay, and it's going to return the card service cards section. Again, because we're doing a build, we will start from the bottom and work our way up. So we will return a section. So now we need to build this section. So we'll say const section equals card service dot new card section, and we can add some stuff to this section now. So let's set a header for the section. Set header. There's going to be this chart name here, and we will call this, of course, chart name. And then let's add two widgets. So what are the widgets we're going to add? The first one is going to be the name of the chart. So let's go add widget. And this is just going to be a text widget. So we may as well put it inside here. So we can go card service dot new text paragraph. Set text. And this is going to take in a variable we will create in a moment, and that's going to be chart dot title. So from the title property of the chart object. Cool. And our last widget is going to be, of course, our chart. So add widget, and we will call a variable that we will create above. So this is going to be called chart image widget. Cool. Let's go ahead and create that variable now. Well, actually, let's do one more thing. Let's create our chart. So const chart, and that's going to call a function called getChart, where we'll retrieve all the data we need to display. Okay, so const chart image widget now is equal to card service new image and let's build this image. So we want to set some alt text, and our alt text is just going to be the chart.title. It's for any screen readers, and then set image URL. And that image URL is going to be chart.url. Hit save. Everyone's happy. And we'll scroll down. And indeed, we could test our project at this stage just by changing these out, I guess. So D changes to high. H1, well, clever, high. And our chart URL, let's just make it this one up here. Hit C, Control C, Control V, hit save. And then we'll go up to our sidebar and hit refresh. That's okay, we'll comment that out for the time being. Refresh. Hi. And then we've got an image. Okay, everything's working so far. Let's uncomment that out now. Go back here and we'll say chart.url and change our highs over and select that and hit Control D. We'll say chart dot chart.title. And now we'll create our getChart. So function. Oh, let's give ourselves some funky space again. Function getChart. And this time around, let's manually build out the chart that we need. And what we're going to do is make use of Google's Chart API. First thing we're going to say is say const title, and that's going to be equal to, let's call it course subs per month. And then we want to create our data using the Charts API. And as you can see here, Charts API already comes built into Google Apps Script as an API available to us, which is awesome. So to build our Charts API, we need two things. We need a set of data for our chart, and then we need to build the chart and the chart type that we need to build. So let's build this data first. So we'll say const data is equal to charts. Oh, things are hiding on us. Charts new data table. And we're going to add in 3 columns. So you can see here we've got month, affiliate, and direct. So our first column is month. So we'll say add column charts dot column type. And then we need to explain what type of data. So we've got 3 types here. First one is string, next one is number, and last type is date. And these are all enumerators in the column type. So first one is going to be string for us for months. And then we'll put a column here, and then we'll put in what that column title is going to be. And for us, that will be months. Or month, we'll keep it simple, month, don't need an S. Add another column. Now we need our affiliate and direct columns. So these are going to be numbers. So we'll say charts, we'll get this enumerator, dot, column type, dot, number, affiliate, or affiliate, do you want to affiliate first? That'll mean it's down the bottom of the chart. It's probably going to be a smaller value, so we'll probably want it at the top. So let's change that to direct first. And then let's duplicate. So I'm going to just hit Shift Alt and down arrow to duplicate the top row. We need keep number, and then we're going to just change this to affiliate. Affiliate, cool. There, done. Cool. So now we need to add our rows of data in. So we need all this data here that we're going to plonk in. So let's do it by hand first so you can see how the Charts API works. There's not much here, so it won't take too long. So we'll say add row. And this is going to be an array for each row that we add. So let's just keep this here. We'll put in our month, so May, comma, 56. And then we started our affiliate sales was 0 at that time. And then how many rows do we have after that one? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we'll just go 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. I think that's them. I think I might be missing one. We'll find out. We will find out, won't we? The next one is June, J-U-N. Let's just make it 3 letters. Probably look smarter. And then July, J-U-L. Go down. A-U-G for August. Oops. S-E-P-L, S-E-P for September. Aha, we did miss one. O-C-T, duplicate that. N-O-V, Bonza. Let's go to the next set of values. It's going to be 16, 52. Oh no, other way around. It's going to be 52 sales, then 67, 89, 108, 150, 153. And then our affiliate sales, first one was 16, 24, 34, 47, 41, 56. I feel like I should be playing some depressing bingo music in the background. Okay, and now that we've got this together, essentially this is going to build an object for us, but it's an easy and simple way for us to build this object. We are now going to create it with a build method. Nice. So that data will be built into an object. Now, so const, what's our next thing we need to do? We actually need to build the chart. So chart is equal to charts dot new, and we want an area chart here. That's like a line chart with a color underneath it. New area chart. That. And we need to set the data table. So set data table. And you can see there's a set data source here that allows you to set data from other API, from other sources like Google Sheets or like an SQL database. However, I want to show you how to do it this way because then you can use it on a variety of data sources. So let's say set data table. And this data table is going to contain our data we just created above. And then we want to set to see if it's stacked. So we want one on top of the other. So set stacked. If we leave it blank, it will be true. And then we want to set the legend positioned. Okay. So where do we want to put it? Legend position is humbly down the bottom, not on top of its enemies, standing victorious. Position, and this is just another enumerator where we can set the position, and we'll put this on the bottom, so BOTTO. And what else do we need to add here? We can set the dimensions. So let's set dimensions, and maybe we'll set it to 500 by 300. We might change this down the track. Interestingly, when you create charts with the chart with Google Charts API, it will downgrade or lessen the amount of what's on the screen, the smaller that you make it, to make it easier for you to read or easier for the chart to read. Okay, and we want to set the title, and that's going to be title, one we made above. And then, of course, we need to build this as well. Build. And done. So that's going to build the object containing the data object as well. Lovely. So when we built this chart, what does it actually build? It essentially builds this data blob that we need to convert. Now, fortunately, we can create something called a data URL that basically builds a PNG file live inside the URL. So how do we go about doing this? Fortunately, we can do this with the utility service from Google Apps Script and using the base64 encode method here. So let's go ahead and do this. So say const image data is equal to utilities dot base 64 encode here. Let's give ourselves some more space, eh? Oh yeah, now you can see. Now you can see. And we'll say chart dot get as, and this allows us to set the type of blob we want. And this blobby boy is going to be image /png. Cool. And now we need to convert this to bytes to set it as a data, as an encoded URI. So we'll say get bytes. Nice. Okay, so if we log this, nothing much special is going to happen. So console.log image data. But it might be a good way for us to check if we've made any mistakes. So we'll hit save now. And we can run this inside our IDE. So I'm just going to click getChart. Oh, yep, getChart. Hit run. Did we make a mistake? 82. Ah, I know I did here. Okay, so we actually need to get the chart as a PNG file and then get the bytes before we convert those bytes using base 64 encode. Hit save now. Hit run. So lucky we tested it with a bit of console log magic. Image data is not a function. Oh, yeah, we something silly there. Try it one more time. Okay, and now we have a huge string of nonsense base 64 encoded information. So what we can do now with this is create another variable, const image URL is equal to data, and this is going to create a string. So we need to, let's put this in some template. No, let's just put this in some double quotation marks, and this is how we create this data URL. So data colon image /png. So we're setting the type. We're saying we want to build some data, and the data type is an image PNG file, and semicolon. And how is it encoded? Well, it's encoded with base 64. And then we'll add in a comma. And then at the end of this, we need to add in the data, and this needs to be encoded into a URI. So we can use the JavaScript encode URI, and then we put in our image data. Lovely. Okay, so let's return this now. So return, and we want to return the title. So this is remember, this is all going back into this buildChartSection function here. So return the title and the URL, and that URL is going to be called image URL. Hit save. Now, if we haven't done anything silly, we go to our sidebar and hit refresh, cross our fingers, and there it is. We have our chart. While it's small, it's kind of clear, but we might be able to clean this up a bit by actually changing the dimensions somewhat. So let's have a go and maybe change this to 260 by 200. Hit save. Okay, and refresh again. Now the lettering looks much larger and the chart looks a little bit bigger, so it's popping out in that sidebar. All right, so we've done a static build of this. So we've got the grasp of the Charts API. It's time for us to make some updates so we can actually grab this data dynamically and make changes to it and see the results in the sidebar as changes are made. So what do we need to do to update this? Well, first we're going to create a refresh button as part of the widgets inside this section. And then we'll also need to update this getCharts function here and create a new function to draw the data from the Google Sheet. So let's work on this refresh button first. So let's head up to our build chart section here and add in a new widget. And we want this just below the title of the widget for our refresh button. And we'll say add widget, refresh button, decorated text. So we're going to create a decorated text widget here. And let's keep everything in order. So it's going to be above between the chart data that we retrieve and this. So let's see. Okay, let's create our constant variable now. So const refresh button decorated text, that's in there. Oops, is equal to, and card service, new decorated text method here. And let's change some stuff. This one is going to be, the first thing we need to do is set the text, set text, and we will call this refresh. Be very explicit with our buttons. Next, we will set button. And so we need to do some work inside that button to set that. So let's create that method. And then inside that method, we'll create a new card service, which is new image button. And let's change some stuff to that new image button. So set alt text is equal to refresh. And then dot set icon URL. And that's just going to be one of our own making. Now I actually grabbed this from Google's materials design just to keep consistency here, but I'm going to put this in here now. And again, you can grab this in the written version of this tutorial in the link in the description below. Okay, and last thing, we want to set an on-click, full stop, set on-click action. And what's this action going to do? It's going to be a refresh action. And then we need to build that refresh action, don't we? So let's just go above that and quickly build this. So we'll say const refresh action is equal to card service dot new action, and then set function name. And the function name is going to be called, so this is a callback function, and this is going to be called refresh chart card. And essentially it's just going to rebuild this create chart card here. Now, if you want to learn how to carry over input fields along with this as well, that's also available in my course if you want to check that out with the link in the description as well. But in the meantime, let's dive in. Okay, so we need to quickly create that function. I usually keep those larger builder functions up the top here. Let's make it just below this create chart card. So we'll go function, refresh chart card. And we'll say, put a console log in saying, ooh, refreshing. And then we'll just this time simply return card service dot new navigation dot update card. What function are we going to use, or what card are we going to use? Well, let's just call the create chart card here. Copy that, paste that in, get rid of the E, and that should be good for the refresh button. Hit save and refresh. get an error. No, there's our refresh button. Hit refresh. Good. Cool. So now we've got a refresh button in place. We need to be able to update things here live. So we need to, from our get chart, call this Google Sheet. So let's go ahead and rebuild the get chart now. So what do we need to do here? The first thing we need to do is get our sheet data. So let's say const sheet data is equal to get sheet data. Nice. And that's going to return a object containing, let's say, what do we want? It's probably going to be column information. So column info. And it will also return our values array. Cool. So that'll give us all the information we need for this. Our build essentially won't change, but we'll be updating this so it's dynamic. We'll pause on this function for the time being. Let's go ahead and build this so we understand what we're drawing over. So let's go down below that last function and create our getSheetData. So function getSheetData. Nice. Let's put in some JSDoc comments in, and we can see what we're going to return now. So returns an object, and it's going to be our chart data containing a title, column information, and values array. So the column information also going to return our title. So title, I'll put in here as a little hint. Cool. Create a variable here. We're going to call it sheet ID, and this is going to be ID to this sheet here. So this one we're working on at the moment. I'm just going to copy this, put this in here, paste, and comment it out. And then, and of course, again, there is a link in the description in the written version of this tutorial for you to access this as view only. If you want your own version to be able to edit the sheet, go ahead to File, make a copy so you have your own version, and then swap the ID out for your own version. So sheet ID, and our sheet ID is going to be this one. Now I'm going to put this internally here. Usually I put this in a set of global variables that are accessible on a separate page on a larger project, or at the very top of a page on a single page project. Just makes it easier to access. Okay, what else do we want? We want a const sheet name is equal to, it's a sheet name course. So that's course down the bottom left hand side here. Good. What else do we want? So from the sheet ID and the sheet name, we also want our title cell range. So it's going to be A1 up the top where it says course sales. So title cell range is equal to we'll keep it A1 notation, A1. So this doobly-doo up here. Then last global is going to be the data range is equal to A3 colon C. So that's saying our range of data is going from here across the C and then all the way down forever should we be able to update it. So we're not going to put a value in here. Indeed, we're going to update this end value in a moment with some some spreadsheet app magic. All right, so let's jump into the spreadsheet app now. So const, and let's grab the spreadsheet. So ss equals spreadsheet app open by ID. You could use open by URL and add in the URL, which is my preference. And this is going to be our sheet ID. Nice, const sheet equals ss dot get sheet by name. Sheet name. Now you could chain these together. What I find by keeping these separated is down the track when I want to make updates is I have these variables ready at hand, so I'm not wasting time. So const title is going to be So we're going to grab the values for the titles here. So it's just this one here. So we'll say sheet.getRange. And the range is going to be title cell range. Okay, and then we're going to call get values on that to grab the value, the text value here. So it'll be course sales will be returned. And then we'll say const for our next one, values, which is going to be from the header down. These const values is equal to sheet.getRange. And what we're going to do is add two things together. So two strings together. So data range, and then we'll say plus. Now, if you remember, data ranges is A3 to C, but we don't want the empty cells here, and we can handle that programmatically by saying sheet get last row. Now, remember, this is only effective if you have other columns on the sheet. And then we'll get the values again. So get values. And we can console log. Just test this out, console.log. Title, comma, values. We'll hit save. And we'll hit getSheetsData, runsies. Lucky we tested it, eh? Sheet ID is not defined. Line 131. Oh, sheet ID, we did a capital on that one. Stay consistent, Scott. And hit run. Voila, magic. Okay, course sales is our title. We got that one. And then we've got the full range down to November. Perfect. Okay, so let's head back. So how do we need to break down this data so it's going to be usable inside here? Now, first we need our set of columns that we will be adding in. So this will be this column data across the top. And then after that, we're going to need our row data here. So essentially what we want to return is an object containing our title, a column, info, and values array. Okay, so we've got the title already, but we need to get this column info. So let's create another variable, const column info. It's going to be equal to, and we'll loop through the 0th row in our collection. So it's going to be this one here, and just put that in its own array. So we'll say values 0. So now we're just looking at that array of values here. Look at our execution log. It's going to be 0 is going to be this one here. And let's map. Okay, inside our map, we'll be setting two parameters is our column. So the column data for each cell value basically. So we could say cell or column, say column, and then we want the index as well. Okay. And it equals, and we'll make an arrow function here. And first we want the column type. Now, if you remember, we've got up the top here, I set a different column type. So we need a way for us to see what column type is what. So we might have a set of components in a components page in our project, or we might just have a components section inside our sheet of a project. But essentially, we're going to make a validate type function now. So what I'm going to do is say const col type is equal to validate type. So this function is going to take the value. So it needs to see what the value type is in each one of these cells here. So it's going to be the one below this label value here. So what we could do here is say values 1. So it's the one below. Remember, we're on 0 at the moment. And then we can make use of this index now. And let's see if we can read what this value is of this first row, anticipating that this value is not going to change down the data columns. Yeah, I think that's going to be cool. And let's say function and create this function. So validate, okay, validate type. There it is there. We are going to take in a parameter, which is going to be the value of each iteration, so value. And then going to do a bunch of cool stuff. Okay, so let's put in some JS doc. Okay, so we've got our parameter. It's going to be string, date, or number type. And then it's going to return the charts column type here. So it's going to return, where is it? One of these. So column type, string or a number, or a date, it depends. Okay, so this might be useful for you in future. So first thing we need to do, let's create a constant variable called object obj type. And that's going to be equal to, we can use this pattern here. So object prototype dot toString, and then we can call the value. So it calls a method of the object. So it'll be like object number, object string, object array, I think. So value. And then we can test and see which category it needs to go in, or which one of the enumerators that we need to apply with a couple of if statements. So let's go if now. So if object type is equal to 4 equal signs. Super strict. And then we want to say it's going to be an array, and it's going to be an array, and it'll look like this. So object date. So if it returns this object date, then we know it's a date. So of course we're not using dates in our current project, but this is probably a function that you'll be able to reuse in future. And then we'll just say return date, and then return charts, and we're going to return this enumerator, right? So charts dot column type dot date. Sweet. Okay, so let's do that again. So we'll say if again. Basically going to do the whole thing, right? Let's just duplicate this. Bing. Okay, so object type this time, we need to say if it's a number this time. Object number, then we want to return, you guessed it, number. And if it's neither of those things, we only have 3 options, so any other option that's available to us should be returned as a string. We could do error handling if it's not a string, throw an error, say, hey, you've done something silly, weirdo, but we're not going to do that. So let's just then return charts dot column type string. And then we are done on that validate type. We'll test that in a second, I think. Probably something important to test. We could test that directly in here by throwing in a value and seeing what happens. But I think just to keep things a bit quick, we'll test everything all together. What do we reckon? All right, so back up here in our column info in this map that we've been working on, we've set this validate type that's going to run down here. And now we're just going to return an object on each iteration of each one of these column information on each one of these columns. So it will return the type, which will be col type, and then it'll also return the title, which will be col. Now col is this one here, so that's going to be the value that it's currently iterating on. We're getting there, peeps. Okay, so let's console.log column info. Let's save. See what happens. So hopefully this is going to return type string, type number, and then also the title. So we'll hit run. We'll getSheetsData, yes, runs. Oh, reference error, console on So 149. Yep, so that's okay. That's returning the enumerator. So it's going to look like in the object. It's not really helping us see what's going on though. What could we do here? We could just do a quick console.log date. And then we'll make another one. Copy it down. Number. And then one more here. Tab, string. And we'll be able to see what's what, hey? Save. Run. Oh, yeah, there we go. String, string, string. Okay, so it's doing date here. So we added in a console log here for value. It's just coming up with, we run it, it says undefined here. So we made a mess of things for our undefined. So let's go back up here. So yeah. Okay, so values, row, first row 1, and then index IDX, 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 and then, okay, let's have a look now. Okay, so May, string, good, 0 number, 56 number, cool. If we change this to a date, I'm just going to hit Control and colon here, and then tab off and run again. What happens here? Good. So we've got May string, date, 56 number, cool. So I'm just going to Control Z back to 0 there. So everything is normal again. Let's get rid of these console logs. And get rid of that one as well. And we're okay there. All right, cool. So we've got column info finally sorted. So after our column info, let's then grab our values array. So now we just need to split out this top row from the rest of our data. So fairly straight, or slice it out, I should say. So const values array going to be equal to values dot slice. And then what do we want to slice out? Our starting number is number 1. Remember, this is 0, 1. And then we want to keep everything after 1. So we will say values dot length. It's safe. And we can probably even log that too, right? And click that, double click that, and then save. Run. Cool. So we've got our type data here, and then we've got our actual values to go in. Excellent. Okay, finally back up the top here, getCharts. So what do we need to change now? So this is all statically added in here. What we're going to do is take this out and make an iterator for it instead to make things updatable. So let's go ahead and remove all of these now. And we just wanted to have this new data table. And then when we finish the new data table, we just want to say data.build. And in between that, we want to run our 2 iterators. So our first one is going to iterate over the columns. And the next one is going to iterate over the data. Cool. So now we need to, let's make things nice and tidy for us instead of calling sheet data, col info, blah, blah. Let's put all this here so it's easier for us to read. So we'll say const col data is equal to sheet data dot column info, and then const values UES is equal to sheet data dot values array. Oh, this array values. There it is, number 2. Grab it, get it. Good. Okay, now we've got this. Let's do our iteration. So col data dot, we'll use a for each loop here. For each item in the col data, for each column, we want to do something. What do we want to do? We want to set our data dot add column, and then our col dot type, and then we also want to add in our col dot title. Good. So if we go back down for reference, our type here and our title. Iterator's done. Oh, over the data. Okay, that's in English now. Okay, so the next one is values, and we're going to do the same again for each value. I'm going to say val, and we'll make our arrow function now. And now this is going to iterate through these rows here as we go down. So we will say data dot add row. Unfortunately, each row contains an array, and this will make a nice neat array here. So all we need to add in now is the val. Hit save. Okay, do we need to do anything else? Let's have a quick check. No, we should be loaded in nicely now. So let's save and come up to our sidebar and have a refresh, see if we made a mistake. Nope, it looks good. So you can see there's the whole letters come in here, so you could do some iteration and fix up these letters here at a later stage if you want, but essentially it's all in nice and neat and tidy. So if we go in here now, if we make a change to 300, it looks a little bit absurd. You can see now that the graph has changed. 153. We're done here. We could do a refresh from here. And the data again has changed. If we want to add in December, we say 60 and 200, tab, and refresh. Again, we've changed our data. Awesome. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. However, for those of you who have signed up for the course already, there is some bonus material here that will allow you to select the chart that's in the sidebar because it's already a little bit small, and then expand it out into an overlay. Now, to do this, we're going to use a different type of API. So you'll also be learning how to use the QuickChart API as well. A bit of extra bonus knowledge there for you too. Another incentive for you to sign up for the course with this bonus material. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more tutorials like this, subscribe. Until next time.